Chapter 8. The Secret City. The sound of arrows could be heard whizzing overhead as the deadly bolts sailed to their mark in the middle of the river. There was a great deal of panic and confusion as the arrows reached their targets. Several of the unsuspecting soldiers were pierced by the feathery shafts and fell dead into the cool waters of the Norses. The chaos was not limited to those unfortunate enough to be caught crossing the river. The soldiers who had already completed the crossing found themselves trapped between the river and the barrage of death coming from the forest. "Get down!" Dyaxes yelled. There was little shelter to be found along the river, as the arrows appeared to be flying from everywhere. One of the shafts landed precariously close to Dyaxes as he crouched among a group of reeds. As he glanced at the arrow, the commander noticed something significant about it. He immediately grabbed a white cloak from the body of a soldier who'd fallen near him. Then, as if he had suddenly gone mad, Dyaxes began running wildly along the bank of the river, waving the cloak in the air. "What are you doing?" Ectheon shouted, fearing for the sanity as well as the life of the commander. "Throw down your weapons," Dyaxes ordered. "Those are not Ursals in the forest. They are elves." "How can you be sure?" the prince asked. Dyaxes reached down and grabbed one of the arrows embedded in the ground at his feet. "Look, this is an elven arrow," the commander said, as he held the shaft in front of Ectheon's face. Indeed it was, for the shafts made by the forest folk were distinctly longer and lighter than those made by the humans. Ectheon recognized the craftsmanship immediately. "If they are elves, then why are they attacking us?" the prince asked. "They must think that we are attacking them," Dyaxes replied as he continued to wave the white cloak in the air. His signal did not go unnoticed, as the deadly shower of arrows came to an abrupt halt. Dyaxes looked into the forest for any sign of the Elcadians. Ectheon stood next to the commander, sharing his view. "What do you think they will do with us?" the prince asked. "Help us, I hope," the commander said. Slowly and cautiously, the Elcadian elves made their way towards the surrendered troops. They approached the Teluvians with their bows drawn, but as they neared Ectheon and Dyaxes, the Elcadian commander relaxed his weapon. A look of recognition and relief came over his face as he saw the elven prince. The Elcadian leader waved his arm, signaling his archers to lower their weapons. "I recognize their leader," Ectheon said to Dyaxes. "He led the escort of the daughter of the late King Ulrich of Ursulus when she came to our kingdom, seeking my father's help in removing her evil uncle Urkai from power." "Prince Ectheon," the Elcadian exclaimed in a friendly voice. "What in heaven's name are you doing here?" "We came to ask for your help to battle the Ursals," the prince explained. "They have surrounded Arjan." A grave look came over the Elcadian's face. "So they have made it that far, have they? I knew they were powerful, but I'd never imagined they could take Teluvia. This is a dire situation, indeed." "They have not taken the city yet," Dyaxes noted, "and with your help, we can see to it that they never do." "I do not believe we have met," the Elcadian said as he extended his hand to Dyaxes. "I am Ardred, commander of the Elcadian resistance." "I am honored to meet you, Ardred," Dyaxes said, shaking the Elcadian's hand. "I am Dyaxes, commander of the Teluvian army." "I am sorry for what has happened here," Ardred apologized. "We did not realize who you were." "I understand the need for your actions," Dyaxes said. "These are dangerous times." "Indeed, they are," Ardred agreed. "But as I look at you, I have a sense they might be changing. Come, I will take you to see our leader." The final wave of soldiers landed on the western bank of the Norsus shortly after sunset. Ardred led the Teluvians through the dark forest to the Elcadian city of Idarad. Idarad was very similar to the Teluvian village of Dunsborough, though it was more populated. Hidden deep within the forest, it was connected to the outside world by paths known only by the elves. The secluded city served as a wonderful sanctuary in times of war. The only way the Ursals could find it would be by dumb luck. Even then, any invaders would face such a formidable defense that they would be unable to induce much of an attack. "Are we headed for Ildor?" Ectheon asked, referring to the capital city of Elcadia, which was located along the eastern coast of the Elcadian Sea. "No," Ardred replied. Like Teluvia's royal city, Ildor is under siege. It no longer functions as our capital. Rather, it has become an elaborate decoy. We left behind just enough soldiers to occupy the attention of the Ursals. The main body of the resistance is safely hidden in Idarad. That is where we are headed. I am sure the king will be anxious to meet you. Ordred's final words struck Dyaxes as odd. As far as he knew, the Elcadians never had a royal family. But the Elven Republic was mysterious and reclusive. If any changes came about within it, chances were the outside world knew little of them. Before the warriors knew it, they were upon the city. The town was so well concealed that they could have been within 10 yards of it and not even known it was there. In fact, at first Dyaxes had to take Ordred's word that the city was there, for the darkness hid all sign of it from view. There were no streetlights or lit windows to illuminate the area. Only after intense focusing was Dyaxes able to make out the forms of several buildings. The Elcadian soldiers led their Teluvian allies to some of those buildings where they were offered food and rest. Ordred took Dyaxes and the young knights to meet the king. He led them to a large oak tree. The Elcadian commander looked up at the dark canopy of leaves and whistled in a tune similar to that of a sparrow. A matching call was heard in the branches above, followed by a rustling sound. "Stand clear," Ordred ordered in a hushed voice. The warriors heeded the Elcadians' warning and backed away from the tree. A few seconds later, something could be heard falling from the branches above. Upon closer examination, Dyaxes noticed that it was a rope ladder. "I will go first, if you do not mind," Ordred said. "The area up above can be tricky if you do not know where you are going." Showing great skill, Ordred swiftly scaled the ladder. The others followed in a much slower and rather clumsy fashion. The warriors seemed to be ascending from darkness into greater darkness as they neared the shadowy boughs of the sturdy oak. Though they had nothing to fear from the Elcadians, the young elves could not help but feel a little nervous as they climbed up into the mysterious arboreal heights. Dyaxes felt a tug on his cloak as Ordred helped him onto the wooden platform. He gave the others a helping hand as well as they reached the end of their climb. When all were safe on the platform, Ordred led them to the main chamber to meet the king. The wooden walkways on which the warriors traveled connected several enclosed structures built on the mighty tree limbs. The collection of suspended buildings was like a city in the air. As you can see, the town below us provides another excellent distraction for our enemy. With the exception of the cathedral, all of the important buildings are up here out of harm's way. Who would ever think to look for a castle up among these branches? On a clear day, you can see all the way from the sea to the river from our lookout points, he continued. That is how we saw you coming. Before long, the warriors came to a doorway guarded by 2 soldiers. Ordred spoke to the guards, explaining the nature of his visit. The Elcadian commander and his guests were immediately admitted into the building. After having walked in darkness ever since sunset, the warriors finally found themselves in a well-lit room. The brightness was hard on their eyes, which had grown accustomed to the dark. It was further testament to the skill of the Elcadians that such brilliant illumination could be so well concealed from the outside. Welcome, brave warriors. It is indeed a great pleasure to meet you. The voice that greeted them struck the Teluvians as odd, for it sounded like that of a boy. As the warriors' eyes adapted to the light, they were able to see the source of the greeting. There, sitting at the far end of the chamber, was a lad no more than 16 years old. Surely that is not the king, Arlon whispered to Dyaxes. Your Highness, I present Prince Ectheon and Prince Ceribus, sons of Eluthian, king of Teluvia, Ordred announced. On my right is the noble Dyaxes, commander of the Teluvian army. With him are Sir Arlen and Sir Diolus, knights of the Teluvian army. It is a pleasure to meet you all, the young king said. Please come forward, good sirs. It is an honor to be in your company, your highness, Dyaxes said, bowing before the king. Please, call me Tamark, the boy said humbly. I have done nothing to earn my title, save having the good fortune of being born into royalty. Alas, sometimes I think of it as a curse rather than a blessing. The young king spoke with great wisdom and respect for one his age. I can see my age perplexes you, he continued. I realize that I'm quite young to be king, although I dare say I make a better leader than the likes of some monarchs I know. His Majesty's father died 2 years ago, under highly questionable circumstances, Ardred explained. He was murdered, Tamark said bitterly. Murdered by his own brother, my wicked uncle Urkai. Diax's eyes widened in astonishment. You are the son of Ulrich, king of Ursulus, he asked. Yes, I am, though I am not recognized as such by my own people, Tamark admitted. After he killed my father, Urkai claimed the throne. He said that I was too young to rule the kingdom. He said that once I was old enough, I would be given my proper title. But he lied. The wretch has no intention of relinquishing his power. He tried to kill my sister and me. That is why we fled to Elcadia. Now, I fear Urkai might have finally caught my sister in his evil clutches. I remember your sister from her visit to Argion, Ecthion said. She struck me as quite courageous. Yes, she is, Tamark replied. Sarah is her name. She went to Teluvia over 2 months ago to ask for help in our battle against Urkai. Understandably, your father was forced to decline, so she set off for the northern kingdom of Virillion to seek the aid of King Ilias. It was on this journey that she fell into great peril. About a week ago, I received word that her party had been attacked and Sarah captured. After all of the trouble she has caused Urkai, I fear he will execute her. It would be a tragedy for a maiden, so fair to meet such a ghastly fate, Ecthion said sadly. Your words of flattery do my dear sister a great kindness, Prince Ecthion, Tamark said. I am sure if Sarah were here, she would blush in embarrassment. However, she is more than just a pretty maiden. She is very knowledgeable, especially in the realm of warfare. Though I may be king, Sarah is our true leader. I am sure Urkai considers her to be a far greater threat than me, and with good reason. Losing her was a terrible blow to us. I wish there was some way to save her, but alas, our numbers are small and the enemy is great. I imagine Urkai probably has her locked up in the prison at Ursus by now. Surely we can save her, Ecthion said enthusiastically. Your intentions are noble, Prince Ecthion, the king said. My sister would admire your courage, but she would not wish to jeopardize the safety of the Republic for her sake. I fear this is one task that may be too great for even your brave commander to undertake. No task is too great if you put your mind to it, Diaxis said. But to storm Ursus, Ardred protested. I would very much like to know what scheme your mind could devise to accomplish such a feat with the sparse forces at our disposal. Well, to begin with, we must increase the size of our army, Diaxis said. Tell me, Tamark, what do the people of Ursulus think about your uncle? There is much anger and dissension in my kingdom, Tamark answered. Ever since Urkai proclaimed himself as king, he has forced the people to work harder, and because of his burdensome taxes, they have almost nothing to show for it. As a result of his greed, most of my people now live in poverty. How does such a tyrant stay in power? Cerebus asked. All the wealth he takes from the people, he gives to the army, Tamark explained. The soldiers live like royalty because of him. That is why they are so fiercely loyal to him. The answer is clear then, Diaxis said. We must induce a large-scale rebellion, a wave of protest so overwhelming that Urkai will be forced to either flee for his life or die at the hands of his own people. How do you plan to start such a revolt? Ardred asked. Judging from what has been said about the state of the nation, it seems the fires of rebellion are already burning in the hearts of the people, Diaxis noted. All that is needed is a leader to stoke the flames. Someone like you, your majesty. I do not know if I can conduct such a rally, Tamark said in a tone that reflected his lack of confidence. You must, if you ever want to regain your throne, Diaxis insisted. Where do we start? Ardred asked. We must go to the nearest Ursul town and start there, Diaxis said. From there, We will travel to the next town and the next, building momentum until we have enough people to overwhelm Urkai and his hired henchmen. We will fill the plains around Ursus with a massive army of freedom fighters calling for the resignation or death of Urkai. We must set off at once then, Ardred urged. There is one more thing, Diaxes added. It would be wise to leave a portion of our forces behind to guard the main road leading to the west. Once Urkai receives word of the rebellion, he will no doubt order many of his men into Luvia to come back to defend Ursus. Judging from the talent your archers displayed at the river, I think they could wreak great havoc on the retreating Ursals. Very well then, Tamark said. Ardred, I would like you to stay behind and command the sharpshooters. As you wish, Your Majesty, the Alcadian commander said. And I will leave behind Arlon and Dialus to aid the good commander, Diaxes announced. It is decided then, Tamark said. Tomorrow we will begin our march to Ursus.